All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we are about to begin the webinar, please be settled. Thank you for your kind cooperation and attention. All right, Marvel, are you ready?
Ready.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, greetings to our distinguished youth and STEM BODs who have founded this wonderful organization as the perfect platform that we make use of today. I'd also wish to thank my Youth and STEM webinar and workshop project members for their hard work on planning this event. Sharon Hamadi as my head project and Jonathan Ken Edward as my partner, along with our head division, Catherine Antonius and Hazel Gann, who have unconditionally helped us to make this event successful. I'd like to welcome all the audience who volunteered to participate in this event, and also to the institutions that have agreed to partner with us to live in this event. Our dear Youth and STEM members, Educarda, Global Islamic School Jakarta, and Garuda Cendekia School. Thank you so much for being here today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the first official Youth and STEM webinar with the team doing a STEM double major in university. I'm Galista Azra as your MC for today as the member of the project member division in the Youth and STEM Indonesia. I'd just like to say that I'm very much honored to be here today for the organization that I've adored for quite some time. And it's a big pleasure of mine that I'm now working as the MC under this event. And I do hope the audience feel the same excitement that I have right now. Youth and STEM is a student-led news and media platform based in Indonesia that focuses on delivering newsletter containing state-of-the-art information on educational success and satisfaction. We aim to take the youth of today on a never-ending journey into the enthralling world of STEM. In an ever-changing, fast-paced world, we want to ensure attainable guidance for anyone interested in STEM. As high school students, we frequently ponder on the decisions we make today and how they will affect our future. With this STEM webinar series, we aim to build a platform for comprehensive and informative live sessions regarding STEM, together with direct interaction and the audience, allowing speakers to share their experiences and the audience to ask any questions that they may have. Allow me to present the rundown for today. After this, we have the presentation from her, followed with a Q&A session and closed with a closing statement from the speaker. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put it in the Slido link shortly shared in the Zoom chat column, and they will be answered during the Q&A session. I have wondered about encounter in college while majoring in STEM. So without further ado, it's an absolute honor to bring to the stage our speaker for today, Marvel Gomulya. So Marvel, the stage is yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope I'm not the one lagging, actually, because there's a little bit of lag from the MC. But otherwise, I can just get started and start to share my screen. Am I okay, by the way? Audio-wise, everything? All good?
All good.
Yes, all good.
Oh, awesome. Perfecto. All right. So there's actually some really familiar names in the participant list, mostly from live. But for those who are new, hello, my name is Marvel. And currently I'm going to be discussing like a few topics. One of them being kind of life in Berkeley, and then the second being double major in university, or at least the focus will be in the double major. And so just want to introduce myself. I am the class of 2023 here at Berkeley. I study both business and data science, and I go to the business school here. Most of you also probably know me from being part of Light. So I'm the managing director there as well. So this presentation is going to be about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up for questions because I don't really know what you guys want to know, and I'm more than happy to answer your questions. With that being said, kind of a short plug here before we get to presentation. If any of you have ever heard of the Light Scholars Program, we try to get you to the best universities in the world and connect you with other driven students. And that may be of interest to you, considering that you are coming in here as well. So our application deadline is on October 2. I'll touch upon this a bit more later on. Okay. Next up, sections. So first thing, I'm going to be discussing on why double major, and then two, kind of life at Berkeley and the experience that I have here, especially being a double major student. The third, personal stories and experience that I've had, kind of things that I've done. And then fourth is, oh, sorry, someone's just waving. Oh, okay. I thought it was for me. And then fourth is extra things you should know. Okay, I've learned to ignore the wave whenever someone starts waving. Okay, so these are the 4 segments for today, and we can just get right into it. Again, like I think Calista said earlier, if you have any questions, do feel free to just leave them in the chat. Okay, why double major? One is exploring different interests. I'm studying business and data science here at Berkeley, and I'll show more images kind of later down the line of samples. But then it really has a very different vibe. For example, when I go to my data science classes, everyone just sits down. It's like a crowded hallway, and everyone just listens to the lecture. In my business class, it's like you're there, and then you just see like, there's like a lot of discussion, like everyone's just talking, like all these things. And so maybe you have different interests. And one of them maybe it being social, maybe another one being it be STEM. Like your ability to explore different interests is a big thing when it comes to being able to do double major or wanting to do double major. Second is, in general, it's more valuable in the job market. Probably the best combination right now, if you want to get the best possible job, is if you do business and computer science double major. That will get you a high-paying job for sure. Business and data science is also a pretty good fit. Some other ones, if you're like electrical engineering and business, but if those two are probably the best kind of combination, because one, STEM jobs pay a lot in general, and then two, if you do take a social major with it, like a business major mostly, or like economics major, it shows that you have at least some social skills. So, in here, most of my business classes is spent on talking with people and things like that. So it really makes you much more valuable in the job market when you're looking for internships and recruiting. And don't get me wrong, or people make this mistake in where once you get into good university, recruiting becomes easier or getting a job becomes easy. It's not. It's never easy. In fact, it may be harder because you're competing with better people and they're getting better jobs. So that is something to consider. So yeah, it becomes more valuable in the job market. 3, diverse skills. Again, this is kind of a bit of a no-brainer, but I think it must be said that, if you're exploring, if you're doing a double major, you can also gain different skill sets. The things that I learned from my business classes when it comes to marketing and economics is like 180 to the things that I learned from my data, from my data science classes. Data science is very math heavy. I don't even know some of the symbols that they're putting up in the board. Well, in business, it's much more intuitive. I just did a case presentation yesterday. I just did a slide, all those things. And that's also something that you're able to do when you're double major. Okay, now with that being said, I do want to do a bit of a caveat on why not to do a double major. This is probably more important than why you should do a double major. 1, less time for non-academic activities. So if you're someone who maybe likes to do other things outside of academic activities, maybe have party a little bit like in university, or have some friends, socially run clubs, like do organizations, do a startup, like you'll have less time for all that stuff. So with that being said, that may be something to consider. If you're considering, and I'll save that to the end. The second thing is if you have no clear intersection between both subjects and work. So if it just seems like, 1, you don't have any interest, let's say, in the subjects, and 2, business and computer science, there's a clear intersection between them, which is like product management, right? Other majors, maybe like data science and computer science, you go to like machine learning or artificial intelligence. If you're like philosophy and I don't know, like sociology or something, like I don't know what combination that's going to get you, or chemical engineering and some other random major, right? Like that may be less valuable because you're either going to use one degree or the other. So it doesn't really show much more about you. And so this is a more tactical advice as to how you can maximize and get the best job that you'd like, or build the best kind of company or startup. 3, lack of passion for the major. To be honest, this is a killer. Taking a double major is hard, especially considering how much more workload that you have to do. You have to do like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 times more workload than the average student. So if you lack passion, if it's not a like clear yes for you, I would say the default should be no. So if you're like, maybe I should do double major, that's a no. If it's like, yes, I'm very passionate about both subjects, then I wouldn't even say you should definitely do it, but you should consider it strongly. I'll say. So for me, it was a no-brainer for me. So I didn't have to think twice about it. Again, now a couple of other notes that I want to put here is, if let's say the double major is not really that, it's too overlapping, then that's not really beneficial. So for example, if you're doing a double major in computer science and data science, that really doesn't help. You're taking like more course loads, like unless you're super duper interested in both niches, like it won't help you in the job market at all. So if you're doing computer science and you want to learn a little bit of data science and like data manipulation and AI, you're better off taking like a few data classes in the university that you go to rather than doing a major. Because in the major, to be honest, there's a lot of useless classes that you have to take. So that's also something else to consider. If you're just interested in a certain subject, there's no wrong in just following through with taking the classes instead of doing another major. Because again, major doesn't really mean that you get to take all the classes that you're interested in. The second point, this is not in the slides, by the way. The second point is that if you're deciding on a double major, or if you're deciding in either a double major or a single major in the social sciences or a single major in the engineering science or in the STEM department, take the one in STEM. This is super duper clear. The reason being is because it's easier for you to move from STEM to social. You can go to social to STEM. For example, if you know careers in like consulting, investment banking, finance, and then careers in software engineering, data analyst, like data engineer and machine learning engineer, a machine learning engineer can move to consulting and investment banking and finance. An investment banking person cannot become a software engineer. So this is really, really important to note. If you're torn between two majors to pick and you're not sure about the double major, my heuristic is to pick the hardest major. Like pick one major that's the hardest. So that's just in general. Okay, that's stuff. That's like the double major stuff. And now a little bit of glimpse of my life. Here at Berkeley, or in general in like other top universities, this is maybe what your life is going to be like. One, academics are hard. Don't be surprised if you're gonna get like the first 50% in your life. Like some of my exams here have averages of 50%, even though we have quote unquote smarter people here. Like 50% averages are normal. Two, everyone is doing something else, especially in the US. I assume some of you guys are interested in going to the US. In the US, everyone is doing something else. So that's, I think, something that's different compared to other regions. Third, huge Indo population here specifically at Berkeley, and this is something to consider when you're picking your university. Fourth, again, safety is questionable, and then five is this is the best place for tech. Again, some of these are not super relevant, so I'm just gonna jump right into kind of some of the personal stories that I have here. Okay, classes. So a couple of images. If you look at the left-hand side, that's my business class. So you see there's like name tags at front. There's like a huge desk. I know I shot it on like my iPhone, so it kind of sucks. But then you can see there's like 3 monitors, like, just like fancy high-tech stuff. And everyone like bringing their iPad or their laptops, all that stuff. So fancy stuff. That's my business class. Here's my data science class. Like, I don't know if y'all can see, but I don't understand anything my professor is putting on the whiteboard. Like she's like putting like poison, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't get it. And it starts to get to this crazy stuff where it's like, I don't even understand what my professor is saying. Like half the words my professor says, it's like math symbols. And I don't understand anything. And the reason why it's super zoomed in, by the way, is because the hallway is long. It's like a very big hallway. It's like super duper crowded. It's like 500 people there. And yeah, basically all you do is just listen to the professor. Compared to business class where everyone's just raising their hands, everyone's trying to say something, very different vibe. Here's another example from my business class. So if you get an image on, business class is much more interactive. The STEM classes are a lot less interactive, really focused on just getting your homework done, understanding the material, like not really much social stuff going on. Here's on the third slide is an example of a homework that I was given. So it was a case homework. actually just did this like a week ago. And we were supposed to read a case study and then do a presentation about how should this company go about their social media strategy. So that's like this type of homework that you get for a business class. So it's kind of fun if you like that communication stuff, if you like being able to share at a high level and your understanding of marketing, like all this stuff. But then that's not what you're gonna get in the STEM majors. The STEM major is really hard problem sets, like 3 to 4 or 5 hour long homeworks, and exams that make you want to pull your hair out. Those are the STEM classes. So yeah, very different vibes. A couple of things they do in work. So here's just an example of some of the jobs that you can do. If you're data science, computer science, you can go to quantitative. This is my job here on top. It's like one, you can go to like quantitative finance. You can go there from data science and computer science. You can go to quant research. You can go to software engineering. You can go to product management, which is a bit more on the businessy side if you're a computer science major. You can go to data engineering, data analyst. Like all these things are very, computer science, data science-esque roles. And generally that's it. And so if you look at here, this is just an email that I received, and that's me getting rejected from an internship. And I'll tell you a story about this. This is one of the biggest quantitative finance firms in the US. They have like a crazy no-brainer like salary. They pay like in IDR kayak 1,5 juta per hour that you work. That's their rate for an intern per hour. So very sought after. Everyone wants to apply there. I got an interview there, and then I was supposed to fill out a questionnaire before the interview. Now, when I filled out the questionnaire, I was like preparing and expecting like a full-on like interview process. And what happened was, because I'm an international student, I got auto-rejected, even though I already got the interview from a very like quote-unquote prestigious firm. And so that's kind of the reality of recruiting for an international student. So, both double major or not, like it's going to be pretty tough. But it does open up a bit more roles that you can apply to. For example, I can apply to both product management, software engineering, data engineering, and business analyst and consulting, because I do both business and data science. So it helps. Third, this is going to more of the life stuff. This is just the library, over there. It's not super duper fancy. And then on the right hand side, this is just code. So this is just gonna be like the type of homework that you receive. Again, this is particular for computer science, data science majors, but that's like just a bunch of code that I don't really understand, and that's going to be like most of your homework. Most of your homework, especially if you're in computer science, data science, is here's your problem set, here's your task, and then just make it work. That's your homework. For the one that are STEM, expect like those type of math questions. If it's math questions, sorry, I don't have any pictures, but if you guys want to get a visual from my description, math questions are going to be like, it's going to seem short. It's going to be like a one page, like question 1, A, B, C, question 2, like A, B, C. But then each subpoint is like 1 page long. So it's like A, prove that, there's an infinite number of odd numbers. Yeah, that's your homework. And then the proof of it is like really long. So it's not even anymore. It's like putting in numbers. It's like proof. So that's gonna be your homework. It's like 1A, and they're gonna take like, even though it's like only 1 page long, it's like easily 2, 3, 4 hours. Especially if it's like a math class or something. So be prepared. Be prepared for that. Yeah. I thought I would include that. I have some fun as well. Like it's not fully just like working. So in the middle, that's me skydiving. I went to Hawaii. Here's me on New York on the left hand side. Here's me with like some founder friends. So here's like, so my engineering friends. Here's Tim as well. He built one of the biggest like kind of companies as a student here as well. So that's pretty cool stuff. And so even as a double major student, you can have fun. So usually it's during, especially for the US, during Thanksgiving break and during spring break, you're gonna go with your friends and then kind of chill out. And generally the school will give you time for that. So during Thanksgiving break, during the spring break, it'll be off. So that's when you have fun. Okay, extra things maybe you should know. Okay, extra random things. One, different majors have different difficulty. If you're in chemical engineering, like God bless you. Geez, that's just known to be a very difficult major. Chemical engineering, general engineering major, electrical engineering, and computer science, that's tough. If you're in economics, psychology, like business, I'm gonna crap on my own major as well. Like that's relatively easy. Like the workload is easy. And I would say, you choose classes based on the units amount. So in business, it's like 12 units, there's like 4-unit classes, 3-unit classes, and they're supposed to represent the difficulty. But a 3-unit class in the business department is like half or 1/3 of the workload of a 3-unit class, 4-unit class in like the computer science department, and especially in the engineering department. So just know that different majors have different difficulty. 2, your major will affect your eligibility for types of work in grad school. Again, if you're in STEM, you have a lot more flexibility. If you're in business and economics, that's already constraining. If you're in pure social sciences like communication, that's already very, very difficult. Like I would say the benefit though of taking a non-STEM major is the amount of free time that you have. One of my friends, she studies at Oxford. Another one of my friends studies at Wharton, and they're like, what is the value of a business major? Like we're literally not really learning that much. Compared to the STEM majors, let's say, the value of it is the amount of free time that you have. So if you're not building stuff using the free time well and productively, then you're better off majoring in a STEM major. I would say, especially if you have the inclination. So if you're torn, do the STEM. That's it. I'll answer it for you. Third, classes in top universities are hard. I already touched upon this, but expect 50s, 60s. But on the other side, some classes are easy. But I'll tell you a story. One of my classes is a business class. This is an easy class. I didn't really put that much time into it, but because it's so easy, the class gets curved. What a curve means is your score and your performance, what grade you receive in the class, is relative to everyone else. So if everyone else gets 100 and you get a 98, you failed the class. So what happened with that class was I got a 97%, and that was an A-. So an A was like a 98, 99, which is a perfect score, like near perfect. So keep that in mind. There are classes like that. Rare on the engineering side, but in the social business side. Second, 4th point, in the US especially, you can drop and add majors. So I know in the UK, you have to like come in, declare major, all that stuff. And I believe in the Indo as well. But in the US, you come in undeclared and you can declare a major. So that's pretty cool, right? Like you can come in, a lot of my friends, some of my friends just switch from biology and they're like, I don't like biology. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life in biology. Like then they switch to data science or something. So you can do that, especially if it's like freshman year, sophomore year, you can definitely do that. Even later on in life, you can add a double major. Like later on in your sophomore year, junior year, which is like your second, third year, you can add a double major still. You can even triple major if you're really that inclined. So I've known people who have done triple majors before, although I would say they're very difficult. 5th is just a general tip that I think people don't talk about enough. If you'd like to go back to Indonesia, I would really, really suggest checking the Indonesian society in your intended university. So this is one of the things that are top things that you should check. The reason is because the network that you have will be much better if there's a large population. Berkeley is probably the best place where there's many, many Indonesians, but the Indonesians are of quality. If you go to like a school like Yale or Northwestern or whatever, that's like, sure, it's a very good school. It's a top school. It's very prestigious, but like you get like 1-2 Indonesian people every year max. Like the entire population is like 5-6 people. So if you don't vibe with the people who come into the school, it's like, well, I guess you're not, you're not gonna go back. You're not gonna have any connections when you go back to Indonesia. So this is something to note. I'd suggest if you want to go back, try to look at the size of the Indonesian society as well. Okay. So this is another resource that may be useful to you. We've been marketing this for like forever, but then for those who haven't gotten it yet, we have a pinned post on our Instagram, basically detailing on like the university essays that got us into all these universities. And these are from Indonesian students, just like you. So people go on Stanford, Cambridge. It's like a 40 page document, I believe. Like it's like so many essays. And all these universities are there, maybe even more. So give us a follow, leave us a comment in one of our pinned posts. You can take a look at it and then we'll send it to you. Cool. And then last thing that I want to mention before Q&A, again, I said that I won't touch upon this, but I really recommend applying to our scholars program. Again, this is like our second batch, so we're still trying to improve things as well internally in our product. But I would say this is the best time because it's really early on to our development. So it's like like quote unquote easier to get in. And B, we have some of the best mentors in Indonesia. If you look at our mentors, most of them go to like 2 of them go to Cambridge, 1 Oxford, like 2 of them Berkeley, another one is from Wharton. So really, really good mentors. And then third reason, or probably the most important, is like I think we want to make it sure that there's a community of people that you meet at our like scholars program as well, who are just as driven and who are going through the same process as you are. With that being said, that's it. I would highly recommend you all checking out our Instagram and then out our website, www.lightid.org. But then that's it for my presentation. Now I'm going to stop sharing screen and then pass it on to Costa again for a Q&A. Thank you.
All right, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the Slido link that we will discuss it today. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna immediately answer one by one. Yeah, Marble. Okay. So the first question is, in your opinion, is it worth it to have less free time to get 2 degrees?
Depends on what type of person you are. Really depends. For example, if you're the type of person who just cannot do anything except for like study, these are the people who usually graduate valedictorian of their class, but then all they do is study, these are like the valedictorians that, all they do is just study. Then I would recommend it's worth it to get the double major because your skill set is really you studying. That's like a skill. It's like something that you do. Now, I have a friend that's also really smart, graduate top of their class, but she's like the type of person who never studies in class. Like never studies in class, but gets the good grades. And then he does like 10 different things, like sports captain and whatever, he does all these things. Then it may be less certain if you should do double degree. The reason being is because my friend who doesn't study and get the grades, 1 can manage the degree, but then 2, he's productive even outside of academics. So that's super duper important. Like, what are you doing outside of academics matter? Like, are you starting a company? Are you doing an organization? All these things. So if you're someone who's inclined to like, who can't like just continue to study all the time, I'd recommend reconsidering doing a double major and maybe just taking the free time and doing something else. Yeah. But this depends on, for example, if it's a computer science and business major or data science business major, I would probably lean more into recommending that. If it's more of like a psychology and sociology major, then maybe less so.
Second question, would you say taking a double major is better than taking a minor?
Yes. Again, this is all relative, right? But then my default answer is yes. A couple of reasons. One is in here, what stands out is that if you don't go from a STEM major here, if you don't graduate from a STEM major in the US, you only get to work here for 1 year. STEM majors get to work here for 2 extra years, so 3 years in total. So that's something else. So if I only graduate with a business major, I can't work here for longer than a year. So I want to have that option. So that's another thing. The second point is a minor just probably doesn't look as good in your resume. With that being said, though, you do have to take less classes. So again, this is relative to everyone. The heuristic here is, I would say, how productive are you in terms of learning and in terms of output compared to the classes that you're taking? So if you're someone who can learn faster than the rate of the classes that you're being taught of, then maybe double major isn't for you. So, yeah.
All right, next question. How do you manage your time?
Manage time. Let me think about this because this is a super duper important question. A couple of tools that I use very, very easily. The lifesaver is calendar. So use a calendar. Like for those who won't use a calendar, you will in university for sure. And you'll regret not using it to begin with. So use a calendar. That's one. Second is every single day before the day ends, I schedule my entire tomorrow on what I'm going to do. And I follow it for the most part, like to the minute. So if there's a meeting or whatever, I'll schedule it. If there's a time for me to work, I'll schedule it. So literally the day before, I know exactly what I'm getting done the next day. So that's pretty fun. The third thing is, I would say it comes down to like meetings. So, well, maybe this is not super relevant to you guys, but I think there should be a good time for you to focus. For example, in the morning. So in university, there's no school. So, you can choose classes that are late. So then in the morning, what I like to do is I like to just like have a routine where I meditate, I take a read, and then I do cold shower. And then I get to work, and I try not to have any meetings in the morning, or try to do the most important work in the morning, because that's when I'm the most productive. Yeah, but if you take anything from this, use a calendar, period.
All right. Next question. Do you already know how to code before entering the data science major?
Yes, but not really. Like, I definitely suck at it. So it helps for you to have, I think, base knowledge, like for loops, maybe like for loops, functions in Python, like all these things, like, or whatever language that helps. But otherwise, you can take introductory courses here, and that should get you up to speed. Yeah.
Next, what's a good combination double major for someone who plans to get into medicine?
I've never heard of someone who's done a medicine double major. With that being said, I've done someone who's done like a public health and data science. And it seems interesting because this person is interested in the applicability of like how they use data and machine learning algorithms in like biology, right? Like detecting cancer through machine learning algorithms, like all that stuff. So that's a very, very niche interest. So I would say, it depends. It depends, to be honest with you. So maybe if you are into building a hospital or building a pharmacy, then maybe business and medicine will be interesting. If you're into like research of machine learning models, all that, then maybe data science and medicine is interesting. If you're just into like doing medicine, then maybe not doing a double major is a good choice. So I'm interested as to why you asked the question, because it's like you don't really have to do double major as well. Yeah.
Okay, next question is quite personal. How do you cope with stress?
Yeah, I don't have great advice on this. I have a roommate actually. So I personally lucked out because my roommate is such a great person, and we're like very similar. We go through the same struggles. He's very, very ambitious, and I'm also pretty ambitious as well. And so whenever things go wrong and there's like too much work and we are like super low on sleep, I just like knock his door and then we just chat. So it helps to have like that one friend, I feel like, and ideally it's like your roommate. It's also having that friend who is just the same level of ambition or maybe non-ambition as you are is pretty good. But just know that in any top university, there will be a good amount of stress. And with that being said, that may be one of the benefits, because you come out to university, it's like you're fine with everything because there's like so much going at you when you're at the uni itself. Yeah.
All right, next question. How do you make sure you graduate on time?
Yeah, two answers. One, check requirements really, really well on the website. Website always has the requirements, at least for Berkeley and for most schools, especially in the US. Second, meet with the advisor almost every semester. So every semester, like try to meet with your advisor, even if it's like 15, 20 minutes. That will make sure that you keep on track. One of my friends actually like had a problem with graduating, and he had to take another year just taking one class because he didn't get the degree because of the fact that he didn't meet an advisor. So that don't be that person.
Okay. Next question. Do you think majoring in business and psychology is a good and useful combination?
Default heuristic is not really. But let me expand. Again, this is like not really, but maybe depend on your situation. Like all my answers are like that. But for me personally, not really. The reason being is because they're both social majors. Well, psychology is like semi-social. I mean, depends on what I guess electives you pick. But then I'm not sure exactly what the combination is if you want to go to business and psychology. With that being said, though, if you're generally interested in like how human beings work, like in their minds, like I'm generally interested in that, then maybe it's a great combination, because in business, you get to apply that, right? Like when you're communicating with people, when you're presenting, you have to know what exactly are the words to say. How do I conduct myself so I can convince other people? And that's, I believe, what you learn in like psychology. So maybe it's worth it. With that being said, though, I think the practical psychology stuff is available online. Like books like Influence, I don't know, like Self-Hygiene, like all these stuff, they're available online. Yeah.
All right. Next, are the grades based off of a curve in Berkeley?
For the most part, yeah. Well, depends. Haas classes are curved. They just recently removed the curve, they said, but then yeah, I'm not really that sure, to be honest. I feel like they're still curving. For the CS classes, technically no, but they enforce a strict high average. They enforce a strict average. So for the most classes, it's like B plus is the highest average you can get. So for the entire class, so B is the highest average. And what they do is they look at the final scores of everyone, and then they look at the distribution, and from there, then they assign grade bins. For example, 70% plus is an A, 60% is an A minus, all that stuff. The plus side of that is if everyone's like, quote unquote, dumber than you, like a 60% is an A. But otherwise, it's like 90% can be B. So, yeah. But yes, informally curved.
All right, next, if you become too overwhelmed with your double major, can you always drop one?
Yeah, I believe you can even drop to a minor. So if you're too much, or at least in Berkeley, right? And I'm pretty sure with other US, there's systems like that as well. So yeah.
Okay, next, how do you know which major is right for you?
Again, this is like the perfect example of a question that we can answer in the Light Scholars program that we can't really answer here. Because I don't know you, like it's like anonymous, like who's anonymous, you know? It's like, but then if I knew you, I would be able to much better advise on what exactly the major is for your personality. General heuristic is take a difficult major. That's a general heuristic. If you are capable of a difficult major, like mathematics, all that, take that major. And if you can't finish it, then you can always switch to a quote unquote easier major, business included. That's a general heuristic. Second is I would say pick what you're most. Oh, here's another tip: is look at your career as well. So look at the career options. For example, people are interested in, let's say, psychology, but they're like not sure what exactly someone who studies psychology will be in the future. So really take a look at the career options as well. What people do with the majors, what careers most people end up with your certain major. And then after that, try to see if that career fits you, then pick the major. So that may be, I think, pretty good advice.
All right, next, hi Marvel. Do you have any tips or advice regarding applying to UC Berkeley?
I mean, the general tips is like do good extracurriculars, like get good grades. Like that's like no brainer. I would say one, if you look at our essays, that will help because then at least you have a reference as to what essays UC Berkeley look for. UC Berkeley essays tend to be more no flowery stuff. Like let's get straight to the point. So UC Berkeley essays tend to be a bit more straight to the point than I think Ivy League essays. And you can see that later on if you go and get our kind of essays list. That's one. Second is value diversity. UC Berkeley loves this diversity stuff and like question the status quo. So we love both innovation and diversity. So I think if you can show that you've done something that's innovative and like quirky and like that's generally pretty innovative, and two, if you can show that you're someone who's inclusive and you like kind of like this community and welcome other people, I think those are values that the university, UC Berkeley in particular, really look for. Just go on their website and then check what values UC Berkeley look for, like question status quo, like fiat locks, like all these things, and then try to, I think, fit your essays. If once you've written them, try to edit your essay so that you can imbue these values within essays. Yeah, I'll say that.
All right, next, what are some pros and cons of your university? I think they're referring to UC Berkeley.
Pros and cons of my university. I'll tell you a funny story that goes along with this, actually. So one of my friends, he's from Yale. So his bachelor is from Yale, and then he's a master's student now at ECS at Berkeley. And we're taking the same class. Like he's taking graduate version of it. And we were trying to sign up for the same discussion, and he asked me, the discussion opens at like 11 a.m., right? It's like 10:50 a.m. now. And he asked me like, yo, Marvel, like what discussion session are you signing up with? And I'm like, discussion 5 or something. It's like 10:55 a.m., right? And then so at 11 a.m., I went ahead and signed up for the discussion. My friend, his name is John, he comes in and he looks at the page at like 10 a.m. And then no discussion is available. Like the only discussion is available is like at 7. So it's like 10 minutes late and all the discussions are filled out. And what that says is that Berkeley is a public university. So everyone's got to like fend for themselves. It's like, I heard my friends in like Northwestern, like the guy had like 4 different counselors, like for him. In here, it's like, for me to declare a double major, it's like I have to talk to like 3 different people and like try to like coordinate them together myself. It's like, yeah, they're not gonna like try to coordinate with everyone else. So I'll say that. So that's a con. Again, public university. Another con is scholarships are tough. Because we're public, they prioritize those that are in California. So scholarships are going to be tough. Third, grade deflation. We're known to have lower grades than other top universities, let's say. So that's also another con. Pros, the classes here are really, really good. They're hard, but then when you go through the class, you're like, wow, I feel like I became way smarter after I took this class, like genuinely smarter. So that's one pro. Second pro is a lot of people. So a lot of people that you're going to meet here, and you will almost definitely find someone that you vibe with here. Third is if you're into startups and you like building stuff, if you're the type of person who just can't continue to just only study, for startup, it's like here. So no, obviously a private university makes it so that you have a lot more resources. For example, classes are a lot smaller. Like you don't have like 1,000 people in a class like I do in my math classes. You have more support in the sense of there's office hours that are available. So when you need tutoring, you can go there. So that's like advantages of a private university. With that being said, some cons is private universities are expensive. That's one. And then second, there's also less people, like the Indonesian community, again, is less when it comes to private university, especially for the ones that are at the top of the top, like Yale, Princeton, like I basically know no one there. So yeah, but in general, private universities are better. But depends again on the major. For example, Berkeley computer science, people will generally pick Berkeley computer science on better than most schools. Like some of my friends, one of my friends got into Oxford and he picked Berkeley because of the computer science and innovation that happens here. So, yeah.
All right, next question. Do you know how's medical school life? Do you think medical school students can have fun? Can medical students take a double degree in music, for instance? Okay.
Not qualified to answer this question. But I feel like based on my, again, grain of salt, but based on my experience talking to people who study medicine, I think a lot of the time will be in academics. So I would say I think one, you can have fun, but I would say you can't build something, for example, like I don't know any medical students who's built, like I'm still a student, guys. And I'm building light and building other projects as well. But I've never heard of a medical student doing that. So, but I believe a double major, especially one that's like music, is possible simply because music seems like an easier major. Yeah.
All right, next. What's the advantage of studying business in college rather than just relying on experience?
Interesting. Yeah. Short answer, not that much. Not that much at all. Like again, the advantage of studying business, I would say, is the amount of free time that you get. I mean, you learn some basic stuff like accounting, marketing strategies, finance, like accounting and finance, you probably will be a bit difficult for you to self-study, but you can self-study. So that's something else. I would say the advantage is that you get a net to fall under, So like if your business fail or whatever fails, then you have a net. But otherwise, then if you have the ability to like just go and study from my experience, like build something on your own, and with a caveat that you're like reasonably driven and smart, like make sure you have a good track record. Like you should be graduating like top of your class, like have started like something that's really, really successful. Then maybe then you can just make the leap and then jump straight into like a business or do something like that. But I would say the main advantage is that business in college gives you a safety net when your other things fail. But yeah, with that, I would say that. Oh, second thing, well, before I move on from this question, you also get to meet other people who are in the business major. So if you're relying on experience and you're starting business on your own and you're being CEO, like you don't really have many other perspective. Versus here in business classes here, like half of the people here have been like president of something, like, or they have like started a startup. I'll tell you a story. I came into one of my classes, in leadership class in UGBA, and then I was like, oh yeah, how are you, blah blah blah, and then after that it's like, oh yeah, and I made friends with him. And then 6 weeks down the line, I came into class and like, oh, how are you? Like, what's going on this week? And then the guy just said like, oh, we just closed like $1 million round at a $10 million valuation. So he's literally a millionaire already. And he's like taking a class with me. And so if you're doing stuff on your own, then maybe you don't get that. Yeah.
All right, next, how do you cope with the pressure from STEM classes? Because I assume it's going to be harder, right? Whether non-STEM.
Yeah. Don't get left behind. This is a mistake that I've made already right now. Like I'm like trying to like really get back on track. But then the thing about STEM classes, especially those that are maths, physics, like sciencey, all your previous topics all your next topics build upon the previous topics. So if you don't have like a good fundamentals, like if you think you're doing STEM and you're getting away from calculus, like sorry, calculus is gonna stay with you for a really long time. Like calculus, statistics, like integrals, like all the stuff, you're gonna keep meeting them over and over and over again. So make sure you have a very good understanding of the fundamentals. And I'll say that helps with the STEM classes. With that being said, how do you cope with the pressure? Keep a schedule. So, because I think if you don't have a schedule, then you don't really know whether you're keeping up or whether you're not keeping up, like blah, blah, blah. So I think having a schedule so that you know exactly where you're at really helps.
All right. I think this is going to be the last question for today. How do you get a scholarship?
How do you get a scholarship? I'm not in scholarships. And again, this is a good question to ask if you're in the Light Scholars program, because we have people who've gone scholarship, applied for scholarships and things like that. So we have other mentors that can help you. But in terms of how do you get a scholarship, I think there's two ways. I mean, it can be like from outside. So I know like most Indo kayak LPDP, but then I believe that's like masters only. So you can get it like from external and try to get external funding. But I'll say that's like pretty difficult. The second way is internally through the school. And so I believe when you submit for Berkeley, you can submit your like financial status, and then you can like click like apply for financial aid, and then they'll get you into consideration. For other schools, it's like for other schools they're like need blind. So this is mostly for top schools, but then for like Yale, Princeton, Harvard, MIT, like all these schools, they basically don't consider your financial status until you get in. So your financial status does not affect your admittance rate. So that's pretty good. Other universities, they look at your financial status. So if you can't pay, it becomes less likely that you get into the university. But yeah, no great answer for this. I think when you get into the university, you get options, but I'll say just research your school. Yeah.
All right.
By the way,
do you have any addition?
Yeah, no, before we end, because I know there's some questions, you can like, everyone can just message me on my Instagram. I try to answer in a timely manner. Sorry, I get like 50 messages a day or something. But then just feel free to message me. I know that it's, in high school, things are confusing. So you can feel free to message me. I'll try to get back to you. That's it.
All right, so if we have any more questions, we can chat you through DMs, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we move on, we're going to have a group photo. To our participants who are able to open their cameras, please open them for the photo sessions.
Yay, photo session.
Sharon or Joken is gonna be the one who screenshot?
I'll screenshot.
Okay, count.
Everyone else, do you guys not want to open your camera?
Yeah,
No?
come on. Opening cameras.
Okay, I'll count. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
All right. Before we end this webinar today, Marvel, do you perhaps have any advice or closing statement that you may have before we close the webinar?
Okay,
Wait.
too cool.
Okay, wait. Sorry. Also, for all participants, please fill out the form that we sent in the Zoom chat for our webinar evaluation, also this slide, and ask Marvel talk about his advice. Okay.
Oh yeah, do you mind sending me that over as well? Like that'll be, if possible, because I'll be interested in the feedback as well.
Sure. After this, we're gonna send you the link.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Sharon. Yeah, final words. Two things. One more important than the other. So one, I'll say it's still important, but the less important one is apply to our Light Scholars program, guys. Like it really is good. I mean, well, we try to make it good. Like we try to help you because based on the questions here, like I generally can't answer the question because it's so specific to the person. So if you have a mentor, it really helps. So one, apply to Light Scholars program. We're consistently making it better over and over and over again. Right now, especially once this batch closes, we want to continue to improve the product. So that's one, the less important stuff, because I plugged it enough times. The second, one more plug. Deadline on October 2. Now that's it. Enough. Now the second part. I always say this, but then there's always a lot of pressure for high school students that are especially grade 11 and grade 12, like get to the best universities that they can. I know some of my friends who are like, they get rejected from the university that they want to get into, and then they're like, they don't eat for like 2 days. And so that's not a fun time. So I would say just know that like the work that you guys have been putting into, like the experiences or the academics and things like that, like all those things, even though not everything will transfer over, like those skills that you've learned really will transfer over. Some of them at least, like grit, like leadership, communication, like those skills will transfer over beyond your student organization / academic life. So yeah, try your best, hope for the best, but then don't make the university label kind of your sole identity. Yeah. Ironic considering the fact that we're helping you guys get into the best universities in the world.
All right, thank you so much, Marvel. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to an end of the Youth in STEM webinar 2022. I would like to extend my gratitude to our wonderful speaker, Marvel, my fellow Youth in STEM members, and all of the participants that have joined today's webinar with great cooperation. I hope that today's webinar can inspire today's youth in the enthralling world of STEM. I'm Kalista Azra as the MC for today, signing out. Thank you so much for coming. Have a pleasant day, everyone.